Hey everyone, this is Meg with another First Impressions video, and today I'm going to be talking about Prototype 2. I actually started playing this game a really long time ago, and I planned on playing it all through first, and then doing a current release game review, like a full review on it. But then I checked how far I'd gotten along in the story. I've been playing it for days, and I was only about 35% through. Fail. So I had to resort to another initial thoughts video, which sucks, but at least it explains why it's taken me so long to actually get here. You know what I found really interesting about the story is that it drew me in almost immediately with a great combination of cinematic cutscenes and live action cutscenes, great voice acting. It just was executed so well. I couldn't help but invest myself immediately in the story. The first scene, for example, involves Sergeant James Heller phoning his wife and child. It's so simple, and yet because everything's so well done, it just elevates it so much and makes it really enjoyable to watch. I think that Prototype 2 really does kind of prove that a story doesn't have to be overly complicated to work, it just has to be really well executed. And I think that they achieved that in Prototype 2. And I'm not just saying that because I really like cinematic cutscenes. Obviously I haven't finished the story yet, but it's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. The pieces are slowly coming together to form one complete picture. And I like that. You get to see it through scenes and little game mechanics, which I'll go into later. I love this feature, but I really do think that it's made all the more impressive by the cutscenes and the way they've been put together, the combination of everything. I think it's just perfect. Gameplay for me is like an arcade game. And I know I said this for Starhawk's single player campaign. I do remember that, but the same is indeed true for Prototype 2. When you're physically playing it, it's not really hard to envision yourself standing in an arcade machine, popping in your money to keep playing it. I think the mechanics are quite simple, but just like the cutscenes, simple but executed really beautifully. The playable character, Sergeant James Heller, is able to run up walls, jump, float and fly. The city is literally your playground. You can morph into other people, you can suck up their memories when you do this, and then in their forms you can stealthily sort of sneak into restricted areas. You're constantly leveling up, so you have access to really awesome abilities, including massive arms that would probably make Popeye jealous. Onto the actual city itself, you can pretty much explore this place, and there are things to pick up. For example, there's black boxes, which when you find them they add to your sort of experience bar, which helps you when you level up. On this note, level up opportunities do crop up, but not quite as frequently as I personally would have liked. The gameplay itself is very action-packed though. It feels a little bit like a glorified hack and slash, which I don't have a problem with. There are a few extra side missions, exploration and stealth to kind of balance it out. I have to admit that playing it for long periods of time does start to feel a little bit repetitious, but I do tend to play games for hours and hours on end, so I don't know if this is just me. Either way, the actual pacing of the gameplay doesn't really slow it down unnecessarily. I liked the graphics of Prototype 2. The cinematics were very reminiscent of Sin City, very stylistic. There's a lot of black, a lot of white, and then a pop of colour, usually red. And the live action cutscenes were paid equal attention and care. In-game, the texturing and overall detail was quite nice. I feel like it made the backdrop look like some kind of comic book verse. They could have quite easily really washed out the scenescape or blanked it up, and they didn't. Having said this, I think they could have done a little bit better in perhaps making it a little more stylised. That's not to say that it didn't look lively or well put together. Now, I know this is where I usually talk about the soundtrack, and I will get to that in about 2 seconds, but first, I really want to mention a sound-related feature that really excited me. This feature concerns the backdrop of voices in levels. For example, when I hulked out and was smashing through tanks and soldiers with rocket launchers in the middle of the street, which already felt pretty epic, I must admit, you could hear everyone freaking out. But here's the difference. No one was saying the same thing or repeating what they had just said. Everyone had something unique to say. One lady was running past me, uttering, "Shit, shit, 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 shit." Another woman was calling to her children. One soldier was frantically calling for backup. Another was screaming as he dragged himself across the pavement. I mean, the list goes on. And there were dozens of people in this area. You feel like you're wreaking chaos on the unsuspecting public. I mean, it's a fuel, power. It feels great. Okay, so now onto the soundtrack itself. It worked in the sense that it was creating a very comic book-like verse through the music and the feeling of indestructibility and that awesome power that I should imagine you do feel when you're standing atop a building and scoping the city. The score is mainly made up of action tracks, which isn't usually my thing. I much prefer melody. But I loved this underlying sense of doom and danger that was apparent in almost every track through chunging beats of synth and drums and brass. Resurrection is the most melodic track in the soundtrack. It really is beautiful and has a very sentimental feel to it, but it snowballs into this emotionally driven, powerful piece towards the end. The soundtrack for me is not something I would necessarily go out and buy immediately. I think it works well for the game, and like I said, I love the feeling of danger that it sort of permeates, but it's definitely not something I would listen to on loop. All in all, the game so far is quite simple in the way it plays. In the story, like I said so far, I mean, I feel like it's got a little bit of mystery to it, but it's not the most complex gaming experiences that I've seen or experienced. But all of those little elements have been executed quite well, I think, and makes it very fun and enjoyable, but an almost throwaway experience. It also has the tendency to become very repetitious if you play it for long periods of time. So if you're like a hardcore gamer, like myself, and you want to play for the whole day, you might feel a little bit bored with it. But I really love the comic book hero vibe and the violence and the action that was thrown in. So it's a bit of a mixed bag for me. I enjoy it, can't play it for long periods of time, and it's not something that I do to intellectually stimulate my mind.
I don't know if we should be here. They said to just stay put, don't go causing any panic.
Well, then just stay put and don't go causing any panic, all right? I'll be there tomorrow night. Then we'll take Maya and go see your mom. Okay, baby, if they got the situation contained, there's no reason to doubt them, right?
So those were my thoughts on Prototype 2. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions on this game in the comment section below. Thanks again, and I'll see you all on my next video, which should be a trailer talk. But don't quote me on that. Bye! A storm's blowing in. It's really grey outside, so the lighting's not really getting any better, is it? It is now raining outside. Coming together. That made a really weird noise. Easily amused. It's suddenly gotten very hot. It's raining outside, and yet it's hot. Does that make any sense to you? Muggy rain. It's the same simplistic, yet well done attitude that was evident in that area. I'm not making much sense. The physical... Having said this, they do have... Oh, I should probably do a new one actually.